If you've been looking for one of the most fuel-efficient people carriers available in the US, Toyota has a brand new Sienna for you in 2021. We were supposed to be seeing the new Sienna and, of course, the upcoming new Venza crossover at an auto show this year, but due to the pandemic, we're here in the office taking a look at still pictures and videos that Toyota has provided instead. Without further ado, let's dive right into the big details. First up, the Sienna for 2021 is going to be happening this calendar year. We're told to expect it by the end of the year, probably in fourth quarter of 2020, and every Sienna model is going to be hybrid. That's a massive change for a strong contender in the minivan segment, where up till now, the only hybrid option has been the plug-in hybrid Pacifica from Chrysler. The important thing to keep in mind is that there are a ton of things that we don't know about the Sienna at this point. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know the exact date when it will be on sale. I don't know when I'll be able to drive one. And we don't know exactly how big it is on the inside, whether it has shrunk versus the current generation Sienna or whether it has grown a little bit. I expect the interior perhaps to be a little bit smaller because in a lot of Toyota's latest vehicles, the Highlander, the RAV4, etc., they've actually shrunken a little bit on the inside versus the previous generation, and it's possible that that may apply to the Sienna as well. But let's dive into the things that we do know. The Sienna is going to be based on the same platform as the Highlander and the RAV4. It's going to be the biggest interpretation of this platform at the moment, and it's going to share the hybrid system with the Toyota Highlander. The hybrid system is Toyota's latest 2.5-liter four-cylinder hybrid system. It is roughly the same version of the system that we find in the Camry, the RAV4, the upcoming Venza hybrid crossover, and of course the Toyota Highlander. But Toyota makes the system in two different power outputs. We have one that's 219 horsepower, that's the one that we see in the RAV4 and the upcoming Venza, and then one that produces 243 horsepower for their larger and heavier vehicles like the Highlander and now the Sienna. As with the Highlander, it's going to be available as either a front-wheel drive minivan or an all-wheel drive minivan, but it's not going to be using a mechanical all-wheel drive system. It is going to be using an e-all-wheel drive system, so electric motor on the rear axle, just like we see in the Highlander. We don't know specific details, but I suspect these are probably the exact same parts that we see in the Highlander. That means that if you want a traditional all-wheel drive minivan in America, your only option for 2021 is going to be the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, which has just finally reintroduced all-wheel drive after being on hiatus for a very, very long time. This change also means that if for some reason you want a V6 engine or you just don't like saving fuel, then you're going to have to look at other minivans available in America because there's no V6 option in the Sienna. It is all hybrid all the time. Again, not all the details are available just yet, but we do know that the hybrid battery pack is going to be located under the front seats, not under the second row or third row, which is kind of an interesting touch. And it's going to be a nickel metal hydride battery, similar to what we see in the RAV4, rather than the newer lithium-ion battery packs that we see in some of Toyota's vehicles, like the new Venza or, of course, the Toyota Highlander. According to Toyota, this system should be good for 33 miles per gallon combined and towing of up to 3,500 pounds, basically the same tow rating that we see in the Highlander hybrid. That will make the Sienna by far the most efficient minivan available in America. The Chrysler Pacifica hybrid gets 30 miles per gallon, so this is 3 miles per gallon better, but it is worth noting, of course, that has an all-EV range of about 30 miles as well. So if you are really interested in not consuming gasoline, that's the only plug-in hybrid option at the moment, although I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Toyota ends up giving us a Sienna Prime. It's just not going to be anytime soon. Toyota has been pretty upfront about their plans for electrification. Their plan includes a big push on hybridization and plug-in hybrids, and then very slowly a transition towards full EVs much further out in the future. By 2025, they expect every model in the lineup to be a hybrid, and they expect to be selling about 20% of their volume as a hybrid. Some EV fans have been giving Toyota a bit of a hard time for their dedication to hybridization, but there's a lot of rationality here. If you have the same number of battery packs available, and remember that batteries are a relatively limited commodity in the world right now, it makes an awful lot more environmental sense to take those same quantities of batteries and make 20 to 30 times more hybrids than full EVs. You end up with a better impact on the overall environment. And that's exactly what we see in Toyota's lineup. Now let's dive into some of the details. There is, of course, going to be an XSE trim, just like we see XSE trims of a bunch of different Toyota models. It's going to give us a sportier, more aggressive look up front, but not any extra power. The lower grille definitely looks pretty hungry there. We also get some very attractive 20-inch split 5-spoke wheels on this particular model. And as you'd expect out of any new vehicle design, we have new LED headlamps and new LED tail lamp designs. And even though this still definitely looks like a Sienna and looks like a minivan, they've tried to style it to be a little bit sportier. We definitely have a stronger haunch in the rear, some slightly more aggressive lines here and there, but this is not going to fool anybody into thinking that this is a Highlander. Although again, we don't know details yet, I wouldn't be surprised if overall curb weight ends up dropping for the Sienna, so that is probably going to help out when it comes to overall handling ability. Now let's dive into some of the interior details. All models are going to have a 7-inch color multifunction display. That's the one between the speedometer and tachometer. They're also all going to have a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system right in the middle of the dashboard. This is a little bit smaller than we see in the Highlander in the top-end trims or in the upcoming Venza. For some reason, we're not going to get the larger 12-inch screen. They tell us it was primarily due to design and visibility reasons, but I really would have loved to have seen a bigger screen in this interior. Going down the list here, we're also going to get power windows standard in all models, dual power sliding doors with an innovative kick feature. So you can actually kick under the sliding doors just like you can with the back door to open them. You'll find that on the XLE trim and above. 3-zone automatic climate control looks to be standard on all trims. 4-zone climate control is found in the upper end trims. You can also get Softex upholstery and leather, but leather is reserved for the limited and platinum trims only. As you'd expect out of a modern minivan, there's also a vacuum integrated. You'll find that only in the limited trim, unfortunately, and the vacuum and refrigerator combo happen only in the platinum version. Speaking of the platinum version, Toyota was one of the first manufacturers out there to realize that some minivan shoppers were looking for a more luxurious minivan, so they've continued that tradition for the platinum trim, giving us more feature content than we've had before. For instance, the second row seats move further backwards than they've ever done before, and they will move even further rearward if you fold the third row flat into the floor. But it's time to talk about one of the downsides that we did hear on a conference call with Toyota today, and that is that the second row seats do not come out of the minivan. And that is a little bit surprising because some folks out there were really throwing shade at Kia's minivan for its second row captain's chairs that don't come out of the car. Unfortunately, this is going to be a problem when it comes to cargo practicality. One of the best things about minivans is that you could either take all the seats out, or if you're looking at a Chrysler minivan, you could fold them all into the floor and stick some really big cargo on the inside of your minivan. And very clearly, this is going to be similar to those Kia minivans where the seats just slide and fold up against the front seats, where you couldn't put as large an item on the inside as you could in an Odyssey, a Pacifica, or of course, the very, very old Dodge Caravan. The reason for this is that the engineers decided to put thorax airbags in the sides of the second row seats. And that meant that they didn't want the second row seats to be able to come out of the vehicle because you'd have to worry about connecting those airbags or having them operate in a different fashion. They thought that was a really bad idea to have consumers interacting with airbags essentially, and that's why those seats don't come out of the minivan. These airbags are in addition to curtain airbags that do cover the entire window zone for all 3 rows. But this is a little bit different than the safety systems that we see in other minivans out there. This could have a positive impact in the side score when it comes to overall crash tests for the Sienna, but it is a little bit too early to tell. But that's the big reason that the second row seats don't come out. The other thing we don't know about the second row seats is whether you can leave a child seat latched into place and still tilt and slide those seats forward to get access to the third row. But because this is a minivan, generally speaking, the door openings are a little bit wider, and if you get captain's chairs, then people can always go through the middle. So it may not be as big of an issue as it is in some crossovers out there. The last thing I'm happy to report that we noticed in Toyota's press conference is that a spare tire is going to be available in all Sienna grades. It's not standard, but it is available. So if you're looking for the most efficient minivan in America and what looks to be one of the most premium minivans in America, you should definitely put the Sienna on your shopping list. Hopefully we'll get more detailed specifications on the new 2021 Sienna from Toyota very soon, but it is going to go on sale in the 4th quarter of calendar year 2020 we're sold, so expect fall or winter 2020, somewhere in that range. We don't know exactly where it will be, and of course I don't know exactly when I'll be able to drive it due to the ongoing pandemic. But it is easy to say that if you're looking for one of the most premium minivans in America, likely one of the most reliable minivans in America, and now the most fuel-efficient minivan in America, then the Sienna is probably going to be one worth waiting for. If, on the other hand, you're looking for a V6, seats that fold flat to the floor, seats that come out of the vehicle, etc., then you may want to look at some of those other options in America right now, like the refreshed 21 Chrysler Pacifica. I have to say that I'm a little bit surprised that Toyota didn't try to put those thorax airbags somehow into the doors themselves rather than in the seat frames. I think that would have added a little bit of extra practicality, but that could be a good safety feature for folks out there that are worried about side impact crash worthiness. Be sure and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of your screen. Be sure and comment down there as well. Let us know what you want us to follow up on about the 2021 Sienna when we can get our hands on it. Be sure to head over to facebook.com/AlexDonado so you can see what we're driving this week. Head over to Instagram, find us over there as well, and I'll see all of you later. Be sure and check out the video on the 2021 Venza.